Hello, America. Welcome to the program. There are many things that I believe that I shall never say, but I shall never say the things that I do not believe. I read that 25 years ago from Immanuel Kant, and I could not imagine the world in which he lived. I certainly do now. I said, there will come a time when you do not recognize your country. Today, that has hit me in ways I never could have imagined. Tonight, I want to take you through the things that we can tell you, the good, the bad, the ugly. I want to tell you the things that I myself or members of my team have witnessed firsthand. Let's start with the good news. Last week, my team and I, we flew to the Middle East to be closer to the Afghan rescue effort. It was spearheaded by the Nazarene Fund, but my travel and my team's travel was funded. The airplane was a gift from some very close friends who I think they should be recognized. I'm not sure they want to be recognized. And I paid for everything else. Not a single dollar of your donation went for my travels, my food, and I eat a lot, or any of my team. My Nazarene Fund team, they were working and still are literally working 24 hours a day. We have one guy who you're going to meet in a minute who actually got married on Sunday. None of us knew it. He was working Saturday night. He was working Sunday morning. He was working Sunday night. None of us knew it. He got married in between. God bless his wife. During this time, the mission was get people out of there. Save the Christians who are marked by death. We had no idea that Americans would be left behind, that people who helped us would also be left behind. And the biggest question was, how are we going to do this? It's us. Where are we even going to get the planes? How much does that cost? How do you work the clearance? How do you get it from the U.S. government to land in Kabul? How do we get the Christians past the Taliban checkpoints and then through the airport gate? I cannot tell you, I can't stress this enough. I told you you would see Moses-style miracles in your life. I have witnessed them in the last 10 days. God has been involved the entire time in this project. I have never seen anything like it. And it started with you. You responded with a record-shattering, now I think it's up to $33 million to fund this colossal effort. When the whole story is told, it will be an epic story. This is a Dunkirk rescue. Well, we got the planes because of you. We got the clearances to land because of him. And together with some absolutely amazing partners, there are NGOs all over in Afghanistan. The Nazarene Fund, no, I shouldn't say this. I am getting too much credit. This is the Nazarene Fund with several other organizations, and they are doing amazing work. And together, the last number I heard, this is days ago, was about 12,000 people flown out. These are Christians, SIV holders, and Americans. I got a briefing earlier today that has, I think, changed me fundamentally, and I don't know exactly how yet. Yesterday morning, we woke up to this photo. It's the last U.S. soldier now left Kabul, the airport. Taliban now fully in control. But for the Nazarene Fund, our mission is still full speed ahead. We have gone dark because we can't let the Taliban know what we're doing. We had one of our planes, one of the last planes to take off before the August 31st deadline. We had countries all over the world that were ready to take and accept several thousand Afghan Christians. The details are extraordinarily sensitive. At the time we wrote this script this morning, it says here, but things are looking good. No, they're not. No, not after today's. I don't know what the State Department is doing, but I am telling you I will not rest. My dying breath will be to expose the evil that is happening in the Department of State. It is evil. But let me ask you this. How is it that we, you and I, had to spring into action and respond here? Where was the government? Well, we'll tell you that in a minute. But we're also just a small company. We're mocked and ridiculed all the time. You are, we are, we don't have the resources of all the big corporations that have been so giddy lately to show us how woke they are. Let me ask you, Coca-Cola, you've gone all in on leftist politics. You'd think you'd be all in for saving Americans. Well, maybe not. Were there white people there? Or at least refugees from imminent danger? You know, they have a bottling plant in Kabul. Did you hear Coca-Cola announcing any initiative at all to send their planes to help? Have you heard anything from the new woke Nike? How about Silicon Valley? Can you imagine the billions of dollars they could have directed to the rescue effort? But they're probably too busy helping Cuba get their internet back or not. You remember Google had that meeting with their employees, consoling each other after the Trump election of 2016? Most of their panic was over what would happen to immigrants. Have you heard anything from Google regarding Afghan refugees? I have to be really careful. Because maybe some of these companies are doing something, and I will be the first to sing their praises if they are. But these companies could have summoned a fleet of planes and unlimited cash. Where are they? I think these woke companies are full of crap. Their pandering is disgusting. But let me make one note here. I do know, and this is probably the first time I think that this has been reported, I do know of one plane from Facebook. And the reason why I know it is because it was very odd. We had just flown in a plane of refugees. That's when those refugees are supposed to be counted and sorted and everybody else in that host country before they move on. We're supposed to pass the manifest on, make sure the State Department sees it, knows who's coming in, who's coming out. No, not this time. Not this time. Those people were boarded directly from our plane to a Facebook plane. And then they were flown to Mexico. Now, I hope everything is on the up and up, and I want to be able to come to you soon and say, look at what Facebook has done. It's great. We were told that we should reach out to their PR department. So a couple of days ago, we contacted them by email and didn't get a response. So today, we called them and said, hey, we got a broadcast today. Can we talk to you guys? Well, when we called them, they actually answered the phone. Then we introduced ourselves and they said, quote, oh, hi, we'll have to call you back, end quote. I'd love to be able to tell you what they were doing. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm trying also real hard right now to remember a time when a president or an administration screwed something up like this. This may be the end of NATO. None of them seem to want to take any responsibility here. And Biden's running out of fingers to point the blame at, more people to. If it's not Trump, it's the intelligence community or the military or the Trump supporters. But if you ask them, the military, they warned Biden this was going to happen. I will agree with the president on one thing, and that is the buck stops with him. During the months leading up to the chaos in Kabul, he directed the U.S. government to ride the heels of the January 6th riot and politicize organizations that have no business being political. The DOJ, Homeland Security, the intelligence community, they identified and took all of this time and energy and money to identify white supremacists as the biggest threat to America. Did anyone believe that? The chairman of the Joint Chiefs was pushing and defending critical race theory. The Secretary of Defense signed a military stand down to find all those crazy white supremacist extremists. This is what the institutions that are supposed to be protecting us, this is what they were focused on. Defense of the country played second fiddle to democratic politics. And that's the theme here that needs to be seared into everyone's head in this country. That and the lack of empathy and compassion for citizens, let alone those who are going to be raped, killed, or burned alive. Kabul erupted into chaos. American citizens and allies were stranded. And then the best of us, 13, tragically died. Why? Politics. Political theater. The Democratic politics left us unprepared, and then Biden's political agenda oversaw the worst overseas debacle of the modern era. And now mainstream media and the Democrats are trying really hard to spin what happened as an inevitable outcome that would have happened regardless of who was sitting in the Oval Office. Bull crap. Most of us all agree that we needed to finally bring our troops home. The problem is not bringing them home. The problem is how you brought them home. So let's take a look at the incompetence that Democrats are now trying to defend. The more and more of the country, as it began to fall, the Biden administration held negotiations with the Taliban to talk about the withdrawal. This is the exact option given to us by the Taliban, and I quote, "We have two options to deal with it. You, the United States military, can take responsibility for securing Kabul, or you just have to allow us to do it." That's the Taliban negotiator giving us the option of securing Kabul during an evacuation. But guess what? Biden didn't want the political blowback of bringing in additional troops to secure the city. So he and the head of CENTCOM, General McKenzie, told the Taliban, we really only need to secure the airport. We gave the Taliban the green light to take Kabul. This is the entire reason chaos erupted. It is the entire reason why we still have more than 200 to 300 Americans and allies stranded. I hate to criticize a man or a woman in uniform, but did General McKenzie push back on the commander-in-chief at all? Because General Mattis did under Trump in the Syria withdrawal, remember that? And he resigned. Why aren't we seeing resignations from the top brass? And it goes way beyond McKenzie. Biden didn't want to have over 1,000 troops in Afghanistan, so the most strategic U.S. base in the country, Bagram, was abandoned in the middle of the night. You know who's going to have that base soon? China. Biden claims it was the military. They said, close the airbase, just let's leave the lights on and just go. Do you seriously believe that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, thought it was a good idea just to abandon a $1 billion airbase? If he did, he's either incompetent, high, or a yes man. Either way, he should resign. By Friday afternoon, before Kabul fell, the Biden administration was going on vacation. I kid you not, vacation. The president flew off to Camp David, and the Secretary of State was in the Hamptons. Oh, yes, I'm just sunning myself, yeah. Anyone looking for any word at all from the White House press secretary was given an office email from Jen Psaki that she was on vacation too. Does any of this sound normal to you? Does any of this sound like the America that you knew, know, and love? Our military generals were greenlighting Biden's plan that was based more on political blowback than sound military strategy. And as the chaotic repercussions ensued, the entire administration went on vacation. Biden didn't want the image of more than 1,000 troops in Afghanistan to secure the city. But they had to go anyway to try to clean up the mess. This was not a we plan for every contingency sort of thing. This is, oh, crap. Since we didn't secure Kabul and handed it to the Taliban before we got our people out, the frantic dash to the airport began. The Taliban began setting up checkpoints all over the city. I'd like to call them less of checkpoints and more of kill boxes. They had them all over the city, including the main road leading to the Kabul airport. The Biden administration refused to go and get our people. Our military had to watch as other militaries went out when the French went out of the airport and rescued their citizens and allies. The French. And then watch this. Unbelievable. Our Secretary of Defense being asked about relying on terrorists to get our people out. So Secretary of Defense.
And where do you take that? I mean, how far can you extend into Kabul? You know, and how long does it take to flow those forces in to be able to do that?
So it sounds like you're saying this depends on diplomacy with the Taliban. That's it. That's our only option, is getting them to agree to do this.
Well, let me add something here.
No friggin' clue. No clue. Do you think any adversary is afraid of that guy? No clue. Begging. I'm just begging somebody take that. I don't even know what happened here. How is this man, how is it he hasn't resigned just in disgrace? It's beyond me. Relying on terrorists became the main plan, and they're still doing it. God, I wish I could tell you what I know now. It looks like we may have also given the Taliban a list of all of the Afghanis that aided us. And I say might have, because the Pentagon refuted the list as reported by Politico. And normally I wouldn't believe Politico, but they've got a lot more credibility than anybody in our government now. But that talking point must not have gotten through to the president, who was probably eating pudding, because he admitted that on occasions the Taliban had been contacted with the names to let them through. As if it's as bad as it sounds. Whose brilliant idea was it to give lists to terrorists, a kill list? Was it the State Department? Well, I think Blinken should have resigned for going to the Hamptons during a major international crisis, but if not, he should probably resign over this. How many Americans have been left stranded? If it's one, it's too many. But the White House says the number's around 300. 300. I thought you said you wouldn't leave without everybody that wanted to go. By the way, that number is complete and total bullcrap. Total bullcrap. But even if it is 300, why did you leave them? Does anyone believe that number is accurate, or is it just me? This is Jen Psaki 2 days ago.
And we believe there are still a small number. I understand you're asking for the exact number who remain. We're trying to determine exactly how many, and we're going through manifests and calling and texting through our list, and we'll have more of a concrete number for you as soon as possible.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry, but you don't have any idea how many Americans are stranded behind enemy lines, and you change it from 250 to 300. Yesterday, they corrected the president's speech to make it say what he said was 90%. Then the White House went in and they corrected that speech for the record, so it says 98% were rescued. Does anyone believe this cluster of an administration actually know where our people are or how many people there are there? The national security officials briefed the Senate that there were 10,000 to 15,000 U.S. citizens in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. The White House said that 6,000 may have been evacuated. Now, maybe my math is off here because I'm not part of your new sophisticated Common Core math where every answer is right, but 6,000 is neither 10,000 nor 15,000. But somehow or another, you don't have to show me your work. Only 300 remain. The buck stops with Joe Biden. And one other thing. This is the military arsenal that he just gave to the terrorists. My favorite on there is 33 Black Hawk helicopters that I think they were using to hang people from the other day. It was a great use of that. Oh, and the 4 C-130 transports and the 16,000 goggles, night vision goggles. Those are hard to come by. You can't even buy one of those in America. As an American, you think the Chinese, you think the Russian, you think somebody in the world would like that technology? And all of this happened because politics drove the agenda. Biden shouldn't resign. He should be impeached and kicked out of the White House in utter disgrace. And anyone who voted for him, if you are looking at this and you're hearing your president lie to you and say, no, it went fine, it would always be like this, you shouldn't be able to vote. You shouldn't be able to drive. You are too stupid. I'm telling you right now, survival of the fittest, it's going to eat you. At some point, you're going to be eaten, probably by a mouse, because if you're that stupid, you're lower than the mouse. The left and the media are trying to defend this. It's absolutely indefensible. I've never seen anything like this. There is a solid case for nearly half of the cabinet as well as the top military brass to resign. Will anyone be held accountable? The woke corporations did, we think, what we expected them to do. They failed to act. I'd like to hear what Facebook did with all of our Christians that we rescued. Where are they in Mexico? Why didn't you follow protocol? How come you could just zoom in and grab our plane load of people and zoom right out? Our pandering of our incompetent government failed. But you did the most American thing possible. You didn't wait for the government. You rolled up your sleeves and you took it upon yourself. You have not reached out in anger, struck out. It's what they want you to do. You instead have become remarkable, historic, heroic figures that will be remembered. I have updates from those who are coordinating, possibly, I think, it is the largest evacuation by private individuals in the modern era, if not ever. We go there next. Ever since Uno tried rough greens, he's a completely different dog. I mean, it's not like he's talking now, like, yeah, just sitting back watching some TV. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's still, but he is more active. He is, I don't know, he's more playful with us. His personality has changed, and he doesn't seem like a 10-year-old dog, and that's old for a German Shepherd. He's like a puppy. I want you to try rough greens. This is something that, it's not a dog food. You sprinkle it on your dog's food. It has all the things in it, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, antioxidants, omega oils, all that crap that you're supposed to eat. Your dog's supposed to eat a lot of that too. I don't want you to pay for a bag because maybe your dog won't love it as much as mine. Rough Greens. I want you to go there, roughgreens.com/Beck, and just all you pay for is shipping. Just get a small little trial bag of Rough Greens, sprinkle it on your dog's food for a few days, make sure that he really will eat it and he loves it as much as Uno does, and then call and get a full bag, and then watch your dog change over the next couple of months. It's amazing. 833-GLEN-33, 833-GLEN-33. It's roughgreens.com/Beck. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of two organizations. One, the Nazarene Fund, because you funded it, but also another group of people, Save Our Allies. These guys we work hand in glove with. At least I felt. I don't know how they felt, but we have made a great team, and there's so many great organizations. But Tim Kennedy is going to be joining us about that coming up in just a minute. First, I wanted to start with Rudy Atallah. He's the Chief Operating Officer for the Nazarene Fund. Rudy, is it just me? I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, and you look like you have lost weight. I know you haven't slept. Are you eating?
Yeah, yes, I am. In between, I am keeping myself strong. Thank you.
Rudy, can you give us a snapshot on how many organizations are involved in this with us? Because what's so great is the Nazarene Fund looked at everybody and said, we all have different strengths and we shouldn't be doubling efforts. Is that right? Is that how we were really kind of working on this?
Yes, exactly. Well, first, I just want to give all the glory to Jesus for his grace and mercy, and for just giving us the strength to bring everybody together. I mean, without him, we have nothing. And from a military background, it's always a way to reach out to brothers and sisters who have been in the military and Christian organizations, just to see what assets each side had, and then kind of bring everybody together and leverage strengths from the various organizations. So, for example, we worked very closely with Mighty Oaks, with Shy Fund, No Man Left Behind, the Blessing Projects, Wall Builders. There are several different organizations, plus other organizations that do not want to be mentioned at all because of ongoing operations. So overall, we had to circle the wagons and try to figure out like which aspect each person was going to cover, and this is how we were able to pull off, at least so far to date, the massive evacuation that we have done. And to some level of success, all of us have the same heart, and getting people out was our primary mission. We continue to do so today, even though things have changed on the ground in Afghanistan. We're full tilt, still working hard. There are lots of people that have been caught behind or left behind. We've sent many underground as well because of the areas they're in, and certain, we've broken down the lists with, from the most vulnerable to those who are, I guess, also vulnerable, but in a different position. Church leaders are obviously in extreme danger. You have at-risk women, former journalists, or lawyers that have put Taliban or Al-Qaeda members behind bars. These are people that are being targeted specifically. And now with the situation has changed, the Russians have come in, the Chinese have come in, and they are using their resources and their capabilities to assist the Taliban to round up a lot of these potential victims that we're trying to hide. So it's kind of far more complex for us.
So, Rudy, let me ask you this, because our biggest obstacle, and I maintain it's even worse than it was based on the briefing I got today, the biggest obstacle is the State Department. And when I tell people what's going on in my inner circle about what's happening with the State Department, we've had 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 planes at least that I know of that have been canceled at the last minute by the State Department and couldn't fly places. All of a sudden, we've had countries that were open to us. The State Department calls them up, and then suddenly we get a call from the country, and they're like, we can't take any of your planes. What the hell is happening?
Yeah, so the State Department is not taking any responsibility for planes that are flown by NGOs or non-government organizations to various countries. So every single time we back channel and leverage our connections through our military contacts. For example, in one case, Macedonia had agreed to take 2,000 refugees. We had it all teed up and we were going to fly the refugees there, but our ambassador was told to démarche the Minister of Foreign Affairs to basically tell him that if you accept these refugees, the United States government will not be involved financially to support them or support you or give any help. So when that ripples to different countries, it becomes an issue. In other cases, like whether it's a Middle Eastern state or whatever, the State Department has told us has told these countries, listen, NGOs have to take care of their own bit. If they bring in people, doesn't matter who they are, they're responsible. Well, we've got American citizens on our side that we're trying to bring in. At least I would ask the State Department to step up to the plate and help us bring American citizens to safety. Between just an hour ago, just between me and one other person, we have 123 Americans that we're trying to take out, bring outside of Afghanistan to safety. And
that's that's almost half of all the Americans that are left, Rudy. It's almost half of them.
Yeah, that's the other issue is the State Department does not have a very good handle on how many American citizens are out there. That was the other issue. The number is in the thousands. At least I'm trying to work with multiple individuals right now to get a tally at least of Americans that we know of. So we're in the process of putting that list together. But it's going to well exceed the numbers that have ever come out of Jen Psaki's mouth or anybody else from the White House. So.
Okay, thousands of people have been saved from Afghanistan because of your generous donations. There's a lot of work to be done. Our government says everything the government is saying to you is a lie. Many of the people of the Nazarene Fund that have already been evacuated still need to find their forever homes, and we're getting blocked now on that as well. We're going to get the numbers, and we're going to show you as much as we can what we are doing now. Next. There's a new snack in town. It's called a Built Bar. If you spent 5 minutes listening to me talk, you know I like food. In fact, you didn't even have to listen to me talk. I mean, I love food. My wife would like me to be healthier. Good. That would be great. But I just don't want to eat any of the crap that is healthy. I grew up in a bakery, for the love of Pete. All right. So this is a protein bar. Built Bar is a protein bar. Coconut, double chocolate, salted caramel, mint brownie. They are amazing. And they don't taste like a protein bar. They taste like a candy bar. I told them, you got to stop with the healthy thing. That's a nice side benefit. They're great. Low calorie, low carb, high in protein, high in fiber, and they taste like a candy bar. Built Bar. Go to built.com. That's built.com. Use the promo code BECK15. Save 15% off your first order. Promo code BECK15, built.com. Rudy, you were on the National Security Council at one point. Have you ever seen anything, or can you think of anything in American history that has been this poorly managed and is this damaging to our country?
No, I've done non-combatant evacuations out of Ivory Coast in 2002 after the coup, Liberia, worked on Somalia. I've worked on various countries. I've never seen it this messed up and this bad. I mean, when you give the Taliban essentially the security around the perimeter of the airport to clear people coming in, that's the first mistake. I've never seen anything so messed up in my entire life. And
without getting into any of the details, what I was briefed on today that has happened in the last 12 to 24 hours is, I think, could be even categorized as crimes against humanity if anybody dies from it. Can you think of any good reasons why things like this are happening? I mean, are they somebody asked me just a little while ago, are they targeting us, or is this what they're doing to everyone? And if so, why?
I think it's just because they messed up so bad and they have egg on their face. They're trying to find ways to essentially, back away from this whole issue. And so they don't want us to, if we continue rescuing people right now, it's going to make them look even worse than.
Wow, that's just evil. Can you tell the audience how many people have been saved in the last few days? Since we started.
Yeah, the numbers are, I'm going to throw a high number, and that includes not only directly us, but the partners that we work with, because, it's hard to delineate. A lot of times we work so closely together that we support on one side bringing people through, say, the fence line or the gate, and then somebody puts people on a gray tail or a military aircraft, plus our aircraft that are flying. So our numbers are slightly over 8,000 people so far, and we're working on a lot more as we speak. There are a lot of things currently ongoing that I'm not at liberty to discuss, but I think when all this is said and done, prayerfully, we're going to be well over 10,000 people.
Oh, I hope it's more than that. People are concerned, about bringing people in to the United States. We're not bringing any of these refugees into the United States. We are finding good homes we try to find something that is a little closer to their culture. That's almost impossible to do. But the State Department was just handing out blank visa pages. Is that true, Rudy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I wish we had a lot of time. I would go through all the things we had to deal with, at least with Kabul, just before it shut down. But what we've done with our lists, and we would build manifest lists of people that we knew or partners knew. I had at least one of my guys running names through the OFAC database to make sure that we were double and triple checking the people that we were taking on board to send them to next destination. Then we would provide them to the State Department on a master list to bring them through the airfield in Kabul. But then as we were doing that, then the State Department would come up with these weird ideas and say, oh, we know they're on the manifest list, but they need to now fill out this other form individually. Well, you've got several thousand people outside the gate with threats of potential suicide bombers. The last thing you got people are going to sit there and write on a piece of paper, their additional credentials. We pre-cleared them with you. Why don't you let them through? And that was the issue we were having at the State Department. They just played games left and right with us at every turn. And the thing we discussed earlier with trying to bring them into countries that we were doing mill-to-mill handshakes with on the back end. These are favors just to get through, because the State Department never stepped up to give us the dip clearances or the support that we needed.
I will tell you this, Rudy. The country that I was in, you know which one it is. It will remain nameless. I talked to the ambassador. I think the night after we got a few people out, I think we had maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people that we had gotten out, and they had hit their limit of what they were going to take. And they were so great. I hope that we can tell the story, because the last I heard, and this is almost a week ago, they had 12,000 people sitting.
That's correct.
Yeah, they are remarkable. Are they not saying things for fear of terrorism, fear of the United States? What is it that they are afraid of?
Yeah, so the landscape, the geopolitical landscape has changed across the entire Middle East. Now what you have is, based on this move, it's emboldened almost every terror group out there. And everybody now looks up from a terrorist group. They look up to the Taliban as their model, to include Iran, by the way. And so what you have is now Middle Eastern countries that are supporting us or helping the refugees, but at the same time, they're trying to keep it hush-hush because it creates additional threats for them. Plus, they don't want to, it gets into regional politics, where if you help one country in which the Biden administration is very close to, and another country is not close to the Biden administration, it gets into that really weird diplomatic side. Okay. So everybody tries to shy away and then just do everything quietly.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Thank you. Get some sleep, have a sandwich or two, and we'll talk to you later this evening. Unfortunately, our last briefing of the day. Thank you. The Nazarene Fund provided the planes, but getting refugees and Americans to the planes is another miracle. Next, we're going to speak to an Afghan war veteran who is pretty popular, especially with the ladies around here, who have been, he's been on the ground in Kabul. He reveals what he saw, and he says it's not what the White House is telling us. Tim Kennedy next. So homeowners have quite an opportunity in front of them right now. More than ever, you can save money when you need it most, hundreds a month, possibly even $1,000 a month, just by refinancing your mortgage. Don't wait too long to call American Financing. You could miss out on these historic low mortgage rates. But, you know, the other thing is, I think it's going to get harder and harder for people to get loans. Study the Great Reset and you'll understand why. American Financing. Learn about custom home programs that may fit your life better, how a shorter term for your mortgage can save you huge money in interest, or how to access cash that can help you pay down credit cards and shore up your credit. Just be in a better situation with AmericanFinancing.net, 800-906-2440. The legend that is Tim Kennedy began at an Army recruiter's office on September 12th, 2001. He's a former UFC fighter, Army Ranger, Afghan veteran, and also somebody who helped put together SaveOurAllies.org and has rescued thousands of people from this mess in Afghanistan. Welcome to the program, Tim. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm amazing. It feels really good to be back on American soil.
Right. So can you take us through this? Because, I mean, all we're doing really is getting airplanes, and you seem to be filling them. And I'd just like to know, what is it where you go out and you find these people? How do you even find them?
Well, I mean, on the ground, I'm a volunteer. Obviously, I have a special forces background for 17 years. But the finding them is not the hard part. The hard part is making sure you're finding the right person. We have an amazing team with Save Our Allies. We have two different advanced bases. One of them is in Washington, D.C., and the other one is forward in the Middle East. And, you know, we have tens of thousands of requests to go and find specific people. And we have a big, long vetting process to ensure the bona fides of finding the right person. So submitting the right paperwork, American passports, green cards, the SIV status from the Department of State. And once we kind of know who that person is, and then getting positive ID and contact with them, then we, I can't say how we do it because I don't want to reveal the trade craft of how we go in Afghanistan and find these people. But then we find them, we sneak them past the Taliban, and we put them on, sometimes your planes, sometimes one of our partner nation planes. Yeah. And I really don't do anything. The team that I've been working with are the most brilliant men and women on the planet. And, like Chad Robichaud and Sarah Verado, they were the ones that asked me just to come and help. And I'm just there as a volunteer to help. So
the Taliban checkpoints, I'm trying to figure out how we can have conversations here, but they're everywhere. They're everywhere, and they are. Do you believe that they have the list given to them by our government? They're looking for certain people, and how do they? What are they looking for?
So the Taliban is looking for specific people that we call HVIs, high value individuals, that the Taliban know that we want them and they want them too. They might have been interpreters, they might have been engineers, they might have been pilots. They might just be farmers that know how to work irrigation, but they don't want them to leave because the Taliban, they want to create a government that can generate money so that they can be more powerful gangsters than they already are. But the Taliban's evil, just flat out. They are the scum of the earth. And any of those checkpoints, they will murder someone in a heartbeat. They'll kill babies. They'll execute women. They take passports and tear them. They take your SIV status once they find it. If you're an interpreter and it says you're an interpreter, they're cutting out people's tongues. I won't say the horrific things that they're doing, but that's the G-rated stuff that they're doing at these checkpoints.
I know that when the Kabul airport was still open, you had brought people in, and they were inside the Abbey Gate, and a general, I think a general or a colonel, came and said, "Get these people off the airport." Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. But this wasn't just war. This was desperation, and this was chaos, and this was anarchy. This wasn't a military operation. This was everybody. Imagine the trains going to the gas chambers, lining up outside of the ghetto, and this is halfway through the Holocaust. We're in the middle of that when we were in Kabul at that time. So emotions were high, tensions were high. There was not a single clear what we call it a common operating picture of the ground. Like everybody's supposed to be doing one thing. That didn't exist. Everybody was doing everything that they could to save as many lives that they could and make sure that they're saving the right lives. Not that one life matters more than another, but we're trying to get American citizens. We're trying to get SIV holders. We're trying to get green card holders. And we're trying to find people the Taliban wanted to kill and get them out. That was a nightmare situation. But
I know that they were inside the gate. They were then shoved out of the gate, and I have a picture of the gate before the explosions. It was a madhouse. We have actually a picture of they were standing in their own sewage, and many of these people, your team had rescued and brought in. Just a few hours later, this was the scene, and I warn you, it's graphic. But that is the same ditch that many of them were standing in, and these images only get worse. Do we know anything about the women and children and the people that you guys had rescued? Do we know if they're alive or not?
It's really hard to get information about who of the people that we had brought in that then we had to bring out. I don't know who then relocated to another gate. That specific culvert, that sewage system, that was one of our, we were calling them rat lines. We were smuggling these people past the Taliban in between their checkpoints. And so there's a big wall with concertina wire around the airport. We had to sneak them through over that wall, under that wall, and through the concertina wire. And of course, in between the Taliban checkpoints. And that culvert, that sewage was one of our rat lines. So obviously the Taliban figured out that we were smuggling people through there, and they targeted that one spot. And that was,
Horrific.
The Marines, what hero, but
yeah.
This is war.
Tim, thank you so much. I know you're going to be on our podcast that will be released tomorrow, a full interview with you, and you are a fascinating guy. Thank you so much. Tim Kennedy, president and founder of Sheepdog Response, also saveourallies.org. Back in a minute. A final note from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Not to speak is to speak. Not to stand is to stand. God will not hold us blameless. I'd like to add, His justice will be done. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow on the radio from Dallas. Good night.